Thanks, Murta. And I was just thinking as we're watching Phil Callaway and the challenge of telling the truth, this might be an appropriate question to ask my guest, Jack Murta, who, as I said off the top, is well known to many Canadians. You went through, it was 7 elections, right,
That's
Jack?
right. Yeah,
I mentioned 8 off the top, and I realized I was wrong. 7 elections, which is really quite amazing. Why did you decide to not run anymore? You obviously were on a roll.
That's right. Well, I think the only reason was I got a bit disillusioned. I got sick of politics, I think. So when I left in '88, I wasn't back again to Ottawa. I didn't go back, I don't think, one more time until 2004 when I went back for to oversee the National Prayer Breakfast. I just got sick of the grind and what was happening. I was in the cabinet. Maybe it didn't quite meet my estimation or what I thought it was going to be like when I was a backbencher and in the opposition for so many years. But you know, God's ways are strange ways, because all that set me up for coming back to work with MPs on all sides of the House now.
Now, when you say you get sick of politics, I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on the Hill, but I'm there enough to know a little bit of what you're talking about. The life of an MP is, I mean, I just don't know how they do it. I mean, you're up early in the morning, you're in meetings all day, sometimes you don't get home till 10 or 11 at night, and it's just a constant grind day after day after day. And if you represent a riding that is, you know, a few hours away, you're flying there on Friday afternoon, then flying back on a red-eye Sunday night or early Monday morning, and it just never goes away.
That's right. It's there with you all the time. Now, you know, the MPs have been off for a week. They have things have changed since I was there, and it's a bit more structured now than it was when I was around. They're off for a week, but the week they've been off, they're back to Ottawa now. But the week they were off, they were probably busier than when they were in Ottawa because of the constituency work and that. And I'm not exaggerating to say that they probably work 70 hours, 75, 80 hours a week in some cases. So it makes it, when they get up early in the morning and come on Wednesday morning to the prayer breakfast that takes place, there's about anywhere from 15 to 25, 30 of them do that on a regular basis. It always marvels. I'm always marvel at it, because I mean, it'd be pretty easy to sleep in that one morning if you wanted to.
Well, sure. Now, do you live in Ottawa?
I live in Ottawa now. We moved back.
And so, are you there for pretty much all of these Wednesday prayer meetings?
Yeah, I'm there for them. The way it was kind of designed to do. If for example, we had a group of MPs sitting around this table, and everybody agreed it would be a good idea to have a faith-based breakfast of some kind, prayer breakfast. They would all agree to it, but unless somebody stepped out and said, "Look, I'll put it together," it wouldn't happen. Right. It would just sort of would still reach that level of just being in your mind and not any farther. So that's my role, is to work with. We have a chairperson that chairs the breakfast, to work with that person to bring everybody together. We don't talk politics, of course, at that time. If we ever stray into the political areas, and it's pretty tough not to sometimes, but if we ever do, then I guess part of my role is to jump in and kind of bring it back to the whole faction of why we're there. And I was just, your piece just before this was talking about Jesus, and the whole prayer breakfast idea behind it is this is not a Christian event, but it's a Christ-centered event. So we talk about Jesus, and there's maybe 15 minutes of prayer that takes place at this weekly prayer breakfast, and that's the nucleus, I guess, that is the spark that helps drive the National Prayer Breakfast that'll be coming up.
Now, and we'll talk about that National Prayer Breakfast in a few minutes. When we watch Question Period, it seems like you're at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. Like and sometimes I wonder if this is political theater, or is this the reality? If it's the reality, it must be pretty tough for these guys to leave what could be seen as personal attacks behind and become one in Christ for an hour on a Wednesday morning.
Right. It is. It's difficult. It's a bit of both. There's political theater there as part of it, but underlying the political theater is reality. And that's always there. There's always that sense of reality that's there. Question Period is a safety valve, if you like, with our system. It's like having two defense lawyers arguing against, or one defense lawyer and a criminal lawyer arguing against each other. They can still be good friends when the argument's over, as long as it doesn't get into a personal basis. And that's the whole thing. If this ever degenerates into a personality basis, then it starts to destroy. But as long as it stays on the basis of political philosophy, I'm right, you're right, this is how we should be debating, it's not that much of a problem.
It'd be wonderful to go back with an eye to history and see if question period was at all like it is today before the advent of the television camera. I wonder, you know, if MPs feel that they have got to put on a good show or they got to perform.
When television was first introduced, and I was there at that time, this would be in the early 80s, I guess it was, they felt that there was this emphasis to, but now it's become so natural that nobody thinks about it whatsoever.
You don't even think the cameras
You don't even think the cameers are there.
No. Now, what do you think of Thomas Mulcair? What do you think about this?
I think he's going to do well. I mean, I think he will inject a little bit of zip into the proceedings. I know a lot of people that supported him, and they supported him basically because they thought he was going to be a good, strong opposition leader, and that's what you want a good, strong opposition to hold your government accountable, and that makes the government that much better. So I mean, and Tom Mulcair should fit that mold.
Does his ascendancy, do you think, upset some of the establishment within the NDP, or?
Well, it could. I mean, I don't know whether, I mean, we saw Ed Broadbent he took a pretty negative view of him in that, and he would be considered establishment. But the establishment in any political party doesn't have as much political sway, I guess, within the parties as we might think anymore. That's almost a thing of the past, I think, because of communications and everything else that's taking place and that. So people are much more independent and think for themselves in terms of what they want to do. So whether it'll have an effect, my sense is the NDP will be able to come together pretty quickly. And there's always going to be, after a nominating convention like we've seen, there'll always be a few hurt feelings and a bit, things that have been said that maybe the people didn't really mean. But history has always proven that the parties come together. Why? Because, Canadians want parties, political parties that work together. The last thing you want is a political party. It's like a family. If the family can't get along, why would anybody want to support the family? And that was, so that's one of the great driving forces, I think, behind most of these people getting together, and they do, and they will come together. So I suspect the NDP will do all